one of the things that I like to do, and I think as historians, any good historian would do this, is look at other perspectives of an idea. So, like for my dissertation, looking at westward expansion, manifest destiny in Texas, specifically at Fort Belknap. I wanted to get another perspective other than the soldiers here, the people that settled here. So the Native Americans, kind of um, how it affected them, and we know it had a huge impact. And I made some great contacts in Comanche Nation, which was difficult, and Caddo Nation as well, to get some insight and perspective. And of course, a lot of that comes with the museum that I work at, trying to get their input into putting displays in the museum. But I came across two different articles that kind of interested me. One of them is Slave Master President by Dusenberry. And it's talking about James Knox Polk, who was president at the time that Manifest Destiny, I mean, he's associated with Manifest Destiny. And kind of on his platform when he ran for, if you haven't studied James Knox Polk, just a fascinating president. He ran on a platform of 4 different things and said if he accomplished them, he wouldn't run again, and he accomplished them. One of those things that he ran on was the annexation of Texas. Now, as soon as he got the nomination, the preceding president went ahead and annexed Texas. He could see that that was the will of the people and did that for Polk. But in this biography, what I'm looking at is, this biography is not necessarily a biography of Polk, though I've read a few of those. This is more about his slaves and kind of his relationship with his slaves, and how he would be considered a moderate Southern Democrat today, when looking back. But he had the way he treated his slaves was interesting. He had incentives for them, even though he had a couple of uprisings and stuff. He did have incentives for his slaves to stay on. He treated them pretty well, at least according to this article. So, looking at the president over this big idea of manifest destiny is, I mean, if you're doing American history, you always kind of need to look at the president to see what their perspective is. In the other article that I picked was it's about the Kiowa religion on the frontier. Not necessarily the Kiowa religion, but it focuses on the Kiowa, and it's looking at their religion and how their lives were affected through manifest destiny. Now, here at Fort Belknap, there were conflicts between soldiers and settlers and the Kiowa Indians. So I always thought it was intriguing to do that. Jennifer Graber, who wrote this book, does a fair treatment. Now, I have found certain issues with some of her statements in her book that are easily refuted. And it almost seems like there was kind of an agenda for this one particular chapter that she's trying to get across. That being said, I'm not going to throw the baby out with the bathwater. There's a lot of good information in there. And going through it and disseminating with discernment which information to use and which information not to use. I've also decided to do a book critique for West Texas Historical Association on this book. They'd asked me to, so I picked this one because of this assignment to do that book. But and kind of her issue is what she says that I disagree with is that at a specific point in time in history, whenever Fort Belknap was here, that there was not as many captives as most historians say there were. But then she doesn't give any evidence to prove her point, whenever other historians have proven, and we've even got the governmental records to prove that. So it seems like at this point in this book, she's kind of getting on a there's more agenda driven than historical driven. Anyway, but the information in there is excellent information, and I'm really glad that the Oxford database had this on there.